Okay, so retirement. It's something we're all supposed to be thinking about, right?
Yeah.
Saving for the future, making sure we have enough put away. But what if there's a different way to think about it? Like, what if instead of trying to save as much as possible, we actually aim to, well, die with zero?
Die with zero.
Yeah, you heard that right. That's the pretty bold idea in this book we're diving into today, Die with Zero
Hmm.
by Bill Perkins. And before anyone freaks out, no, we are not about to tell you to cash in your 401k and go on a spending spree.
Right, not quite.
But this deep dive is going to make you reconsider your relationship with money. And importantly, how it connects to how you actually want to spend your time. So whether you're already a financial guru or just starting to wrap your head around saving, our goal today is to pull out the most useful stuff from Die with Zero. Because really, who doesn't want to make the most of their life at every stage?
And that's exactly what Perkins is getting at, isn't it? It's not just about money, it's about psychology.
Oh, tell me more about that.
So he talks about this thing called, and forgive me if I mispronounce this, hedonic adaptation. Basically, we get used to stuff. That brand new car feeling, gone in a hot minute, but the memories you make.
Okay, yeah. Experiences over things. I've heard that before.
Right, but Perkins doesn't stop there. He's saying delaying gratification, putting off the good stuff, could actually lead to, well, regret.
Oh, interesting. He's got all these stories in the book about people who waited decades for their dream trip only to have their health go sideways. It makes you think, right?
It really does. I mean, what am I putting off because I'm too busy saving for some unknown future? I'm curious, what about you? What's on that bucket list of yours?
Oh, man, so many things. Traveling for sure, but also...
And are you actually planning for those things financially? Or are you letting those worries hold you back?
Wow.
That's where this whole time bucket thing from Perkins comes in, and it's kind of genius.
Time bucket?
Yeah. Picture your life in a series of buckets. Each one's a different life stage, right? Your 20s, maybe that's your adventure bucket. You're backpacking across who knows where, taking chances.
Okay, I like that. Then you fast forward. You hit your 40s. Now it's the connection bucket, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Building your family, finally starting that side hustle you always talked about.
So it's not about just going wild when you're young.
Exactly. It's more nuanced. It's about recognizing that what brings us joy changes as we do.
Uh-huh.
And, importantly, our spending should reflect that.
So it's like intentional spending tied to what we actually want out of life at that moment.
You got it. And this is what makes Perkins' approach so powerful. He makes you get specific. Let's say you're hoping to buy a house in 5 years, which is awesome. But are you also thinking about what you want to experience in your 40s and 50s? It's about aligning your money goals with a real vision for your life, not just some vague idea of retirement.
I like that. A real vision. But okay, let's be honest. This die with zero thing, that's a pretty bold statement. I mean, what about unexpected costs? What about leaving something for your family?
You're hitting on some really big questions there, and trust me, Perkins addresses them. It's not about being reckless. It's about being intentional.
Exactly. And that's where I think people get tripped up. This isn't about just blowing your savings. Perkins is all about planning, saving early, that whole deal. He even talks about things like annuities, which, those are all about long-term stability.
Okay, so he's not saying chuck it all and hope for the best. But how does he reconcile that with, well, dying with nothing in the bank?
Right. So this is where it gets really interesting. He wants us to totally rethink inheritance.
Instead of the whole leave it all to the kids thing.
Exactly. He calls it pre-inheritance. It's basically shifting the timing of when you're generous. Like, imagine being able to help your kid with a down payment on a house when they're actually young, starting out. That's got to be more impactful than getting a big chunk of money later, right?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, when you put it that way,
Yeah.
it makes you think about what your money could do if you gave it strategically. But isn't that hard for some people emotionally? I mean, to let go of assets like that.
Oh, 100%. And Perkins acknowledges that. It's a big decision, right?
Yeah.
He's a huge proponent of being open with your family about it, making it a conversation.
So it's not about forcing anyone into anything.
Right. It's very personalized. There's no right way to do it, which I think is actually reassuring, right?
It does take some pressure off. But okay, let's get practical. If someone's listening thinking this all sounds great, but how do you actually put die with zero into practice and not end up broke before you expect to?
So Perkins gives you a framework, not a rule book, which I appreciate. He's big on estimating your life expectancy, which morbid, but important. Then figure out your net worth and start mapping out your spending. Remember those time buckets.
Right. So if you've got your bucket list, now you got to figure out how to afford it. But for someone who's maybe feeling a little overwhelmed, like, where's the starting point?
Honestly, I'd say it's about shifting your mindset first.
Yeah.
Money's not just about hoarding, it's about fueling your life, making it meaningful. So start with that time bucket list. What do you absolutely not want to miss? What kind of mark do you want to leave?
Aligning your spending with your values, that's powerful.
Hmm.
But let's be real. A lot of people are worried about security. So how do we balance wanting to live it up now with making sure we're good for the future?
It's a balancing act for sure. And honestly, that's where understanding your own risk tolerance comes in. How comfortable are you with, maybe having less of a safety net?
Right, because it's not one-size-fits-all advice.
Exactly. Perkins really stresses that this isn't about everyone selling all their possessions and living like there's no tomorrow.
It's more about making intentional choices, choices that match what you actually value.
100%. It's like, what are your priorities? If
Mhm.
if it's about making memories with your family, well, maybe putting money towards a family trip now makes more sense than holding on to it for some unknown future.
You know, the more we talk about this, the more I realize how much this whole die with zero idea flips the script on how we're supposed to think about money.
It totally does. It's almost like rebellious in a way, right?
Right. Instead of constantly delaying gratification, it's about recognizing that life is happening now. And yeah, the future is uncertain for everyone.
It's about embracing the now while still being, somewhat responsible.
So let's bring it all together for our listeners. Say you've made your time bucket list, you've thought about the impact you want to make. What's the next concrete step?
Take action. It doesn't have to be huge, right? Maybe you start tracking your spending more closely. Maybe you finally look into different investment options, something that aligns with this whole idea.
Oh, or even just talking to your family about it.
Yeah.
If Perkins is big on anything, it's communication.
For sure. Get everyone on the same page about what really matters. Because, let's be honest, none of us know how much time we have, right?
And that's a powerful reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you couldn't take it with you, how would you use your resources differently? How would you really make your life count?
That's the heart of it, isn't it? It's not just about money, it's about legacy. But legacy defined on your own terms. The experiences, the relationships, the impact you make, that's what people remember.
It's a really powerful way to reframe your entire outlook. And honestly, even if someone listening doesn't fully embrace this whole die with zero concept, I hope it at least gets them thinking.
Me too. It's about being more intentional, more deliberate with how we live our lives. And that's never a bad thing, right?
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. Hopefully we've given you all some serious food for thought, maybe even a little inspiration to shake things up. Remember, it's your life, your money, your choices. Thanks for joining us.